Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today I want to show you two very unique and special instruments. They are the alto trumpet, and I actually have two of them in the key of E flat. Today I'm going to be exploring the historical significance of these instruments, how and when they might have been used, and a little bit of background information. The bulk of this video is going to be me trialing mouthpieces to find a good fit with these instruments. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions about these specific instruments, or if you want to learn more about any of the topics that I'm covering today. So I'm not going to go over too much of the history of these instruments, but I do think it's important to understand that prior to the 19th century, trumpets were much larger than what we use today. They didn't have valves, they didn't have any way of playing chromatic pitches unless you were playing very, very high in the harmonic series. One of the most popular methods for adding chromaticism to brass instruments was the implementation of keys or valves. Rotary valves were very, very popular in the middle of the Romantic period. During this transitional period, trumpets were still quite large, often in the keys of D, E flat, E, F. You see a lot of mid and late Romantic music in these keys. So Wagner, Mahler, Strauss, Brahms, Beethoven. There's a ton of music for trumpets in D, trumpet in F that you'll see in orchestras. As the demands of trumpet players in orchestras increased, the size of orchestras increased, the design of this trumpet started to shrink. That's how we ended up with C trumpets and B flat trumpets that are most common today. In the States, we mostly use piston C trumpets in orchestras. In the UK, it's primarily B flat pistons. Most of Germany and Europe use C rotary trumpets, so there is some variation, but typically we use C and B flat for the bulk of orchestral playing. And for any high classical or Baroque music, we often use piccolo trumpets, even though the parts were written for D trumpet, because it gets that lighter character, gets a little closer to that sound concept. So you might be wondering, why would anybody be interested in these instruments if nobody's using them anymore? Well, first of all, I think they're super cool. Second, I really like learning about the history of brass instruments, the way they were made, the way they were used, how they sound, the way we perform on them. I think the modern trumpet player can learn a lot from exploring the historical practices in different musical periods by trumpet players. My hope is to not only learn about the historical performance practices of these instruments, but actually implement them in my own playing for chamber music, solo repertoire, recording projects, trumpet ensemble, you name it. I think they're very cool, they have a very unique sound, and I would love to see more alto trumpet used in modern works. There are some modern jazz musicians who have been implementing bass trumpet and alto trumpet in their playing. Trombone players often double on bass trumpet for orchestral works. Usually these are B flat or C bass trumpets, and they use a trombone mouthpiece. Both of these horns that I have with me today were sent to me on trial by Hampson Horns. James Hampson has been a pleasure to work with. He was very kind in giving me information about these instruments and giving me time to try them out and find one that I wanted to purchase for myself. I'll leave a link to his store down below. I did purchase one of these, which I'll reveal at the end of the video, so if you're interested in one, definitely check out his store, give James a call. So both of these alto trumpets are about 6.5 feet in length in the key of E flat. There are alto trumpets ranging from key of F to key of D, so slides in F, E, E flat, and D. These particular instruments only come in the key of E flat. There aren't any additional slides to put it in different keys. This first alto trumpet that I have was made by Stowasser in Bohemia in the early 20th century. Unfortunately, I don't have the exact year that these were made, and I don't believe Stowasser is still making instruments. There are some dents and creases on the bell bow and some of the slides and on the bell, but it plays very, very well. The rotary valves move great. Everything's working great. Now, this second horn that I have is a Dubsek alto trumpet in E flat. This instrument was made after World War II. James is an expert on historic brass instruments, and he informed me that the Dubsek is based on a standard 19th century Viennese design. It's much more cylindrical than the Stowasser, the bell throat is smaller, and to me, it sounds a little more horn-like or natural trumpet-like than the Stowasser. The Stowasser gets a little more of that modern trumpet edge and brilliance to it. Both horns accept a modern trumpet shank, but unfortunately I don't think there are any makers in the United States that make an alto trumpet mouthpiece. I know Bach makes a Contra-Alto mouthpiece. They used to make a Contra-Alto trumpet, but there's only one size. It's a 9AT. It's kind of awkward to play. It sounds very trombone-y, which was way off from what I was hoping to accomplish on these instruments. Initially, it was quite challenging for me to find a mouthpiece that paired well with these instruments, so I bought a bunch of mouthpieces to try out. I used a couple of the ones I already had, but I didn't want to go too far off from the size that I normally play. I didn't want to have to change my embouchure too much. I typically play a Bach or Curry 1C rim with variations in cup sizes and throats. So I tried about 13 mouthpieces with these horns. 11 made it into this video. For most of the playing that I do, I use a Bach 1C. Of these mouthpieces, 6 were trumpet mouthpieces, 3 were cornet mouthpieces that I used with a cornet to trumpet adapter, and 1 was the Contra-Alto mouthpiece, and then I used this weird trumpet cornet hybrid from Curry. There were a couple other odds and ends that I didn't include in this video. During the trial, I'll put the specs for each mouthpiece and horn pairing in the clips. So for each horn and mouthpiece pairing, I try to do just one take of the harmonic series, chromatic scale from written low F sharp all the way up to written high C, the Chickwitz flow study up to high C, G major scale tongued, tested the pedal C if the mouthpiece and horn pairing felt like I could hit it, and the 2 clips I'll be showing you are the exposition to the first movement of the Hummel Concerto in E flat, as well as Chimera Etude number 7 for low brass. Even though you wouldn't normally play it on these instruments, I felt like the Hummel Concerto would be a good fit because I could play in the upper register, I could test a variety of dynamic ranges and articulation. It fits a good stylistic turning point, and I felt like the Chimera Etude was great for testing lyrical playing, especially in the low register of these instruments. Keep in mind that these clips I'm about to show you are the first time I'm playing these mouthpieces on these instruments. This was very early on in the process prior to making this video. I did my best to play right down the center of the horn on these mouthpieces. Clearly some are a better fit for me than others, so just bear with me. If you're not interested in listening to the trial of these mouthpieces, feel free to click the timestamp and jump to the conclusion of this video where I reveal which mouthpiece and which horn that I picked. Continuing the Dubsek because we lost the Chimera. 1, 2, 3, 4. see how this one goes. I don't think I can do it. That one sucked. Ultimately, I decided to go with the Stowasser on the Bach 1 mouthpiece. To me, I felt like this gave me the best playability over the range of the instrument, the best response, the best articulation. It is a little more on the trumpety side, but I do think it strikes a really nice balance between what I currently play on and what I need to get these horns to play the way I want them to. So what do you guys think? Did you have a favorite mouthpiece and horn combination that you really liked? Would you like to learn more about these instruments? Do you want to learn more about the history of trumpets? Any other trumpet topics that you'd like to learn about? Let me know down in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.